Hello all, Game Methuselah. Hope you're having a good week. Wanted to go over something really quick with you today about a little product I found that I thought might be of some interest to you. If you guys are doing a startup of an RPG, or even if you just want to sort of design some villages or towns or what like for your current campaign. My friend Craig was running a new module campaign. Don't know what it's about, but he does a lot of reskinning of actual modules and stuff, and then puts his own flavor into it and turns them into kind of his own adventures. And since I don't usually run any programmed adventures, I never know what they're about, so it's always kind of new and cool to me. Anyway, for Memorial Day, because we had the whole day, we said, let's get together. And Craig said, first thing we're going to do is design this village. And then we're going to roll up new characters. Then we're going to start the first adventure of the campaign. All worked out great. It was a really great day. Craig did a really good job. But I was kind of confused because we're going to design the village. It seemed kind of a new thing to me. Normally, you just grab the villages that are out of modules, or in my case, you just make them up. But normally, I just use what's there and then just say what stores and storefronts are available and what you can buy and not buy. They evolve sort of as the game goes on. But what Craig did is he had this little game called The Quiet Year. And it was made by a company called Buried Without Ceremony. They make some kind of edgy vocabulary talky communicational type RPGs, which are interesting. You can look at that yourself. But The Quiet Year is a post-apocalyptic game based upon a year. You're going to have a year to sort of see how your society recovers back. Now, that's kind of not what we used it for. Craig came up with the idea of taking this, because it works perfectly for this, and create something that's very interesting to create a village. And that's going to determine how your starting campaign is going to be. He said you can have human characters of the basic type if you want to pre-generate them before we do the village, but there may be more options afterwards. And that's what we did. So in this situation, you have basically 52 weeks, essentially a year, where the players all are going to be basically getting dealt cards. And those cards will have two questions on them. You can either do one or the other. And then depending upon what the group then decides, it's going to be a perfect modification to the village that is permanent. Now, there's all kinds of things there. You then basically can start to build something or define something, or you can just ask everyone to come to a conclusion like, well, we're going to name the new village and what's it going to be. And it goes around. And what you find is, which I think the whole intent of the role-playing game was, it's lots of conversation about what is going to be someplace and how it's going to survive. Like, who are the most important character types in the location, and what do they have to do to be part of that group? And, it's interesting because you get different dynamics. In our case, we decided it was the Druids because that's just sort of how it worked. Now, it'd also be great because, like in the case of my Twilight of Fae, I could put an elven spin on everything. So we would have that situation. So that concept would be part of the game. We didn't do that. It was all wide open 5th edition D&D. So we sort of started and it went around. We did all this and it turned out to be a really, really good driver for developing your starting village, or for any place where you might want to go into a new village. And if you have a group that has sort of that kind of dynamic where they're good and interactive and they have lots of opinions and you can see sort of things going on, because being a game of itself, what you end up finding is some people are creating things and some people are creating opposite type things. And then there are people who are looking to sabotage all the things that might happen in a village intrigue or any sort of intrigue that would create it. But at the end of it, which did not take a great deal of time, you've drawn out a map which shows these new main locations on the village and any sort of special things you've made. In our case, we had a druidic temple and we found a dwarven mine, and then the mine sort of got more equipment, more different types of ores and the like. There was just all these variables, and different factions were opposed to the other factions. So you set up this dynamic. And then at the end, what races were available. So you could have had the basic human races, but then because we discovered dwarves and then we discovered tabaxi nomads and some other things, I ended up having a tabaxi barbarian as my player character. Other people sort of chose things sort of more unique to what we did. It was just sort of interesting to see how it changes the dynamic of your starting play and how it gives you something that now, after this playing, everybody there sort of has a pretty good idea of what's going on within this village. You don't have to read anything out of the book. The players really have a feel for that. And it was a nice way to start something. We ran the campaign starting, and the first adventure was great, even though I understand it was a module. Though again, I don't know what it was, but I think it's something you should look into. So it goes online. You can buy the PDFs. I don't know if the board game was sold out or not. It was when I first saw it, but now when I went onto their main site, I didn't see that it was sold out. It might be available where you can buy all the components. But quite frankly, the way it works great is you just get yourself a 52 deck of standard playing cards, and all the questions are basically a suit and a position playing card. So ace of spades or jack or 2 or 4. And you just put them together and you play the 4 seasons one after another. And each of the seasons gets a little bit more detailed and potentially dangerous or conflicting. So there's lots of little intrigues that can go on to make the game worthwhile. It's just a little thing I want to share with you. I thought it was really a fun way to start a campaign. And secondly, it really does give you a personal field, detailed little village that you guys all will have a feel for when you start your game. It works out great. So check them out online. The PDF's well under $10, so it's worth buying. You can even just download a lot of the questions that they show you, and you can use that because basically, and they give you a little format of how you run it. It's really simple. I'd give it a look-see, and it might be something you really enjoy getting started on a way to run your new campaign. So, till I have a chance to speak with you again, fight me, devils, fight, for I hate peace, and game on.